What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Tyler's Crash Out Corner, brought to you by No Soft Coverage. Today, we're going to be talking about how offenses have been really attacking these too high shells that defenses are presenting to NFL quarterbacks, and an offense that really has been changing how we view modern pro-style offenses. So it seems like forever, NFL offenses have become more and more pass-heavy as time has gone on. And they've begun to look the part as well, pushing out three receiver looks, 22 to 24 at about 60 to 63% of the time. However, there has been a huge drop-off this year in 11 personnel usage, as the league average has gone from that 60 to 63% all the way down to a 56.44% rate. What this means is that NFL offenses are shifting their focus much more to running the football, and they're pushing out much heavier personnel groupings to do so. However, one offense has really taken this philosophy and flipped it on its head, that offense being the Seattle Seahawks. Despite lining up in these heavier personnel packages, the Seahawks aren't very good or aren't very efficient at running the football, as they have a negative 0.09 EPA per run. But they still do it more than anybody else outside of Baltimore and Buffalo. And this is the trap that the Seahawks set for NFL defenses every single week. And yet it still somehow works. Why?
Understand how the Seattle Seahawks offense works under Clint Kubiak. We first have to take a look at what they're actually good at, and that is the play-action pass from these heavier personnel groupings. Here, Seattle is faced with a 2nd and 9 against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 6. As you'll see here, Eric Saubert's going to come in motion, we're going to get play action, and we're going to be able to hit JSN for a big gain across the middle of the field. As you can see here, Seattle has lined up in a 2 tight end formation. And what this does is it adds extra gaps that we can use in the run game. But what this also does is it forces Jacksonville to add a 3rd linebacker to account for those extra gaps. He is a much heavier athlete, and so therefore he's going to be used against heavier personnel, again, to stop the run. But when we see Nick Saubert come in motion here, all of these linebackers now have to bump over because we have added yet another gap to that side of the formation. What this also does is it helps Sam Darnold ID whether or not this is zone or man coverage. And because all of these linebackers have bumped over instead of the safety following the tight end, we can now infer that this is indeed a cover 3 zone coverage. However, this is playing directly into the hands of Seattle offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, because he knows that you have to put heavier personnel out there to account for the run game. And now we're putting that guy in conflict. And to do this, we're going to be running a play action pass concept called a Yankee, in which we are getting a double team right here on this strong side end. We are then going to hit our play action fake, and then our back is going to leak into the flat. We're going to get a seam route by our Z receiver, and the big one here is going to be our deep crosser by our X JSN. And like I said before, this puts this strong side linebacker into conflict, because now not only does he have to drop down to help fill his gap, just in case there is a run, but now he has to also get depth so that way he can play this crosser right here, or come down to make a tackle when we check it down to the flats. However, he's not fast enough to be able to do this. A slot corner might be able to break up this ball to our deep crosser. However, the outside linebacker, Dennis Gardeck, isn't. The result of this play is a 32-yard gain from this play action pass, simply because this outside linebacker is simply too slow to get there on time. Now, I know what you're thinking. Screw all this play action pass noise. I'd much rather have my typical 4-2-5 personnel out there, and we'll just roll with single high coverage. However, this is the second part of the trap that Seattle sets for NFL defenses, because at the end of the day, they want to run the ball. But here we're going to see a clip from the Seattle Seahawks versus Atlanta Falcons Week 14 matchup. It's a 1st and 5. And we're going to see Nick Callerup come in motion across the formation to kick out that weak side end. The fullback leads, Charbonnet cuts it back and then breaks outside for a huge gain on the ground. Coming to the whiteboard here, we're going to see an offset pistol look from the Seattle Seahawks. But we're going to see Nick Callerup, our tight end, lined up on the outside of this condensed formation here. And he's going to come in motion across the formation. Because this is already a structurally sound defense, Atlanta doesn't move anybody in response to this motion. And now we're going to see a play called YF counter to the weak side here, in which we are going to have the center block back and get a true double team on the 3 technique. We're going to have this tackle on the back side help out until the center arrives and then hinge back to block this strong side end. And then we're going to get a hit and run double team up to that backside linebacker from the guard and tackle on the play side. And now our tight end, Nick Callerup, is going to go and block, or go and kick out that weak side end. And our fullback is going to lead us into the hole and go get that play side linebacker. Our deep back, Zach Charbonnet, is going to take 1 step to the strong side. And then he's going to come back around for our counter play. So not only is our free safety Justin Simmons here put into a bad position because he's out leveraged by the defense and now has to sort through all of this trash that we've created on his side, but also our nickel corner here isn't in a position to where he can shoot into this gap and potentially stop it from the backside because he's much too far away to be able to deal with that. And so the result of the play is Charbonnet is able to cut this down Main Street and get a 27-yard gain on the ground.
So in conclusion, Seattle hasn't invented anything new. In fact, they're only just running play action passes from heavier personnel groupings. However, it's the change in philosophy that makes them unique. Many of the play action teams that you see on Sundays will look to set up their play action passes through their rushing attack. However, Seattle prefers to use their play action passing attack to set up for explosive games on the ground. Once again, I'm Tyler, bringing you the X's and O's to the Jimmies and Joes that you see on Sundays. And this is Tyler's Crash Out Corner, brought to you by No Soft Coverage. Deuces, y'all.